Tomer Azarly covers the Clippers for Clutch Sports, and he's on C2C today. I'm excited to have him on. He won't even believe this, but I like the Clippers. I'm a Clipper fan. Believe it or not, out here in New York
Okay.
City, I like the Knicks, but the Knicks don't beat good teams. The Clippers do. I lived in LA for a long time, like well over a decade, and I'm excited about him. I bet on him yesterday against the Dubs in the Chase in San Francisco. I thought it was very impressive what they did. I smelled it coming, and it's amazing to me how I have to ask you, like, first of all, the national narrative and national media and all these know-it-alls that think they're so smart constantly talk about. I hear it all the time that Kawhi's going to go down. He's going to get injured. He's gonna let him down again. He's not going to play, and they have no chance to do anything. Meanwhile, I'm from the side of the river that says, "Screw you." He's playing awesome ball. He's a complete badass. He's healthy. And when he's in that situation, he's undeniably one of the greats in the league. He's unstoppable. I thought Beard and him yesterday were exactly that, unstoppable. 39 and 33. It was ridiculous. I watched them go off on the Warriors. They put the Warriors in the play-in. They kicked their ass.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal game to watch yesterday. First of all, definitely surprised to hear that you're a Clippers fan all the way out in New York City. They don't get
That's
too
what's
far out
up.
east, but that is
That's
cool
what's
to hear.
up. That's
But
what's
no, I mean
up.
yesterday's game, yesterday's game was just phenomenal. Again, it was the fourth quarter that Steph Curry had, and the back and forth that he and James Harden and Kawhi Leonard had. It was just one of those games where it was a game of will. Like who wanted it more, who could get that extra shot, who could create an extra turnover here and there. And so I think, this Clippers team has been resilient all season. And from the very beginning, they've said the loss of Paul George is seen as addition by subtraction. Everyone thought letting Paul George walk was a big mistake, not offering him $50 million a year, keeping a superstar of his magnitude around in town. And um, his departure led to big openings for guys like Norman Powell and Ivica Zubac, who have been phenomenal, and I would say probably have exceeded expectations. I think everyone expected him to have a bigger role, and I think they even expected to have strong seasons themselves. But when you look at just the seasons they've had, where Norman Powell averaged 24 points a game on nearly 50, 45, 90 before the All-Star break. He had a couple injuries after the All-Star break, so that kind of hampered him a little bit there. They've made some trades that affected his role a little bit. And then you look at Ivica Zubac, who had, I believe it was 59 double-doubles this season, second most in the NBA behind like Sabonis.
Yep.
I think he had three or four 20-20 games, 5 games of 20 rebounds. He's just been a phenomenal center. He had his first career triple-double to end the
Right.
final home game in Intuit Dome, the regular season game in Intuit Dome. So every one of those guys, and that's just Norman and Ivica Zubac. What they were able to do with the departure of Paul George, though, was also sign a guy like Derrick Jones Jr., who was a phenomenal wing player with the Mavericks last year, helped them reach the finals. Good two-way guy, good three-point shooter, and showed that this year. They were able to bring back Nicholas Batum from the Sixers this offseason. They didn't want to trade him last season, but they had to get James Harden. And then they signed Chris Dunn, who, Steph Curry had 36 points yesterday. He also had 8 turnovers. And if you watch that game, though, Chris Dunn made him work every single possession, going over screens, making him feel him the entire night. Steph got his. He got his 36 points. But, I even asked him after the game, that was not an easy game for Steph. They made him work physically every single possession. And so I think yesterday was a kind of an encapsulation of what this Clippers team is, a hard-fighting, connected, deep team around Kawhi and James Harden. They're no longer just a team that relies on their stars. They have a supporting cast around them. And when Kawhi is Kawhi, we've seen
Forget it.
what can happen. So
Yeah, so Dunn was perfect from the floor yesterday, and there's nothing like a guy giving you an 11 piece where he's 4 for 4 and 3 for 3 from deep, and then plays great defense. That's worth its weight in gold. I have to tell you, like I watched the Beard play here in New York with the Nets, right? And I honestly think he's kind of playing like he did in Houston. He's always been, to me, one of the greats. And he's always had that laissez-faire, like, I don't care, man. I'm just a baller. I don't want to talk to you. Just give me the rock. And I'm going to go to the 10. And I think he's been utterly fascinating to watch play in Los Angeles with this team because while all these other cats everywhere are, load management, which I think is soft to begin with. I don't even want to hear it. Where I come from in the park, we just call that the guy never plays. He never plays. He doesn't need any management of anything, agents, management, television time. I don't care. My man, this guy goes out and balls out every night. And what he does outside and inside, and to get his teammates involved and to get to the 10 and the clutch shots in the clutch and in big moments, getting the right guy to put it in the hole. It's sickening. It is sickening.
Yeah, James Harden is a guy who he's kind of the last of a dying breed where you have guys who just love to play the game and love it so much that they don't really care about the media portion of things or everything outside of it, the social media, none of that. They just want to play ball. Like James Harden suffered a pretty, I don't want to say severe, but it looked like a bad ankle sprain or foot sprain here towards the end of the season in March, and ended up not missing a single game after that. They had a day off. They went to New York. He played against the Knicks. They beat the Knicks and the Nets in back-to-back games there.
Easy.
And he's just a guy who, like I asked him about it. I was like, look, you had every reason to sit out. Like the team needed you to be healthy for a playoff run. You sprained your foot a little bit. It didn't look great. And he's like, look, I love to play the game, and this team needs me. I can't afford to sit out right now. And you also never know from a fan perspective who's coming out to watch you, who wants to watch you, who's traveling from overseas to watch you, from Europe, whatever, across the country. So he's a guy who loves to play the game of basketball, and I think he's shown that. I also think that, to your point, he's playing a lot more like Houston, James, but I think he also kind of took a back seat in Philly and in Brooklyn. Not to say that he can't be that guy, but when you have guys like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, or a guy like Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, like you don't necessarily need to be that guy the whole time. And I think that's one thing we saw from him over those years is that, look, I'm capable of giving you 40-point playoff games. He did that twice in the postseason for them when Joel was out.
Hey, Tomer, hold that thought, brother. My man, just excuse me, respectfully, hold that thought. I want to keep going with you. I don't want to lose you. I still want to ask you some more questions about the playoffs. Hang on. Sure. So we were talking about Harden with Tomer Azarly, covers the Clippers for Clutch Sports on Coast to Coast here. Respectfully, sorry about cutting you off. I had to. So let's finish that thought on Harden. Like, obviously, as he goes and Kawhi, they go. And I think Zubac has played the best ball of his career, without a doubt. I mean, fundamentally, he's taken his game to a whole nother level. Like, he kind of used to be a doughboy, but I think now he's kind of turned into a man and a badass. He's like figured it out, and he's become a real problem. Like, I like to call great players that I play with problems. When I play with dudes that I don't know and I'm playing pickup, I'll go, listen, bro, this guy's a problem. You have to guard his ass, or he's going to work you. He's a problem. I think Zubac has become a problem, but I think as those three go, they go.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Zubac this year, I saw a stat the other day. I think he had the most hook shots in a season since like Shaq in 2000. He's really developed a low post game, and I talked to him the other day about this, and it's like, it's something that I've had in my game. I've just never had to show it because we've had guys like Paul and James and Russ and Kawhi. So I've never had to go out there and be that guy. But this year, they've really called upon him to go be that guy. And yeah, to your point, like Kawhi, James, and James, Norman, and Zoo did a great job of carrying this team until Kawhi was ready to come back in January. And even then, Kawhi needed some time to get back to himself, find his footing a little bit, still sitting out some back-to-backs here and there. But once he got back to himself, I think it was a new kind of game where you have to find out, how do we have Kawhi and James and Zoo and Norm clicking? And then also we just traded for Bogdanovich. We just signed Ben Simmons off the buyout market. Like, how do we get all these guys to fit together? Where, like, it's not everyone needs to get their numbers, but how do we bring this into winning basketball? So again, I think the offseason additions they made with Nico Batum, Derrick Jones Jr., and Chris Dunn, three very good complementary guys, role players who know their roles, don't really care about numbers. I think all that contributed heavily as well. So I think they have a complete team. And I think this is probably the most complete team this Clippers have had around Kawhi over the last probably 5 or 6 years here, where they have the depth, they have the star power, they have the big man, they have the shooters, they have everything top to bottom. So just got to stay healthy.
So, look, fair enough on Simmons. I'm just going to say this. Like, we've already been down the road with this cat here. I don't deny back in the day, north-south, he was a dominant big that, could handle the rock and finish and dish and do his thing. But when
Mhm.
he's got a bad rap here. He got a bad rap here. He never did anything ever. And so I think people soured on him. I hope he finds some kind of happiness out there because he didn't have any here in Brooklyn. I can tell you that much. All of his rhetoric about liking being in Brooklyn, he was tripping because he never did anything here. But I'll say this: I
Yeah.
agree with you about everything else. Jones done. I agree about everything. I don't trust that dude as far as I can spit. But I want to ask you this question. Now they got a real problem on their hands in the Joker and Porter and Gordon and Murray and Brown. And I will say, they don't have a coach, but they got a kid that has been around it his whole life with his daddy. And
Mhm.
I won't deny his dad was a legit men's pro coach. I thought Rick was, legit. And I think the kid learned something. And one thing he learned, it's pretty obvious to me, is let this guy Joker do whatever he wants. Give him the clipboard, the ball, horses, beer, his brothers. Let him have front row seats. Do whatever it takes to make the players happy. Because I think Mike was a D, and they hated his guts. They got sick and tired of him cussing at him. How do the Clippers beat this monster Joker?
I mean, look, I think if anything, we've seen that just giving the ball to Jokic isn't a bad idea. 3 MVPs, NBA championship. Look, I think the Clippers they have a good formula in place with a Zubac now who's more mature and just a better overall player. I think they have again the good role players you can throw at Jamal Murray, with a Derrick Jones Jr. or a Chris Dunn. I think Nikola's going to get his, and I think that's just something that everyone has to accept. Like, you're not going to stop Nikola Jokic. I think the biggest thing, and talking to Ty Lue about this before, is how do you keep him from getting those 12 assists, those 15 assists, where he gets everyone else involved, where he finds
Yeah.
guys for corner threes or back cuts, like those things. If you can cut down on the assists that he gets and keep his teammates not as involved, I think that's really the formula to beating Jokic, because he's going to give you 30 a night. There's no denying that.
I
You just
think
have
they
to keep
should
his
kidnap
teammates at
him.
bay.
I think they should kidnap him and take him to a barn in the woods in the mountains. I think they should feed him and tie him up and get him cable TV and not let him out until the Clippers win the series. Tomer, great stuff. I loved having you on the show. Thank you.